Welcome to one of the most opinionated YouTubers here on YouTube.com. I am the Iceman. Subscribe. All right. Is the future bright for the WWE? One can only wonder because they don't seem to move on to the future. They seem to keep reaching back into the past. There are rumors that Rey Mysterio is in Buffalo tonight. WWE and Rey Mysterio are talking about wrestling once again for the WWE. Again, Rey had left. He said he no longer was interested in wrestling for the WWE. He had injuries and whatnot. He was just going to move on, but yet he's back. Santino Marella is trying to make a return comeback after retirement due to a neck injury. Whether or not the WWE takes him back, which they probably will, he'll be back. It just seems like the WWE does not want to reach back and pull up these NXT guys. We've heard it for months that they're moving on up. We've heard it on a weekly basis. We read it on a daily basis. But yet we've seen them, actually appear on WWE TV other than NXT on the network. Daniel Bryan has fears of not making it for WrestleMania 31. He said he is more fearful because of the weakness in his arm and hand that he could do more harm in the ring to another superstar accidentally because he does not have full control. Then he would do harm to himself. So those are interesting thoughts as well. The WWE, there's been reports that Triple H said times are becoming desperate. Maybe it's time for me to put the tights back on. I don't think Triple H needs a reason to put the tights back on. I think Triple H, with his ego, wants to put the tights back on. He finds it now a perfect time for him to come back into the ring. But who does he face? I mean, in all honesty, who is there for Triple H really to face that he hasn't really already faced? To me, what is the point? Bring up these other stars. Triple H, you've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, but yet you still haven't done anything about it. Bo Dallas, possibly out 2 months due to foot injury. And now, you have an injury to your foot, you really can't do a darn thing pretty much in the ring. You can ask Edge about that. He was out for many, many months with the Achilles heel injury. It's just really time for the WWE to infiltrate Raw with guys down from NXT. Because people really don't want to keep seeing same stars facing the same stars week after week on Monday nights, and then again at the pay-per-views. This is where the WWE really needs to put their foot up Brock Lesnar's ass and say, we need you back on TV. With the lack of superstars, with the injuries to superstars, get that chip off your shoulder and do your job. You are the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And if I were the officials and the higher ups, Vince McMahon, Triple H, it's an easy decision to make. We gave you the championship belt. And since you've won it, you've been on a couple pay-per-views. Well, since you've won it, you've been on one pay-per-view. You won it at SummerSlam. You were on it Night of Champions. And since then, it's been nothing. Everybody complains about John Cena having the WWE World Heavyweight title. But at least Cena's around. At least Cena does his job. As for Brock Lesnar, he sees a bunch of zeros on his paycheck. And that's all he cares about, is seeing all those zeros. I don't care about part-timers. I haven't in a very long time. I understand why the WWE brings them back every now and then. The Rock is a huge draw. It's unfortunate guys like Stone Cold can't come back and get in the ring. And that's a part-timer that you wouldn't mind seeing because you haven't seen him wrestle in so darn long. The Undertaker, I don't know the issue there. If I were him, after losing his streak at WrestleMania, what more does he have to prove? We haven't seen him since WrestleMania. Will he be at WrestleMania 31? Oh, probably so. Why? A lot of zeros on that paycheck. These guys that come in part-time, especially for the biggest stage of them all, WrestleMania, take up spots that other people have earned. Maybe not so much this coming year because we're not even allowed to see a lot of the other guys on the WWE roster. How often do you get to see the likes of Kofi Kingston? Where's Fandango? Is he even around in the WWE? Is he hurt? I haven't read anything about him. What's going on with that? It just, week after week, same old people. There's a lot of stars that are very, very good. Oh yeah, they're good enough to go to house shows and fill in. Now when you go to house shows, you see maybe two, maybe three tops of the big superstars, and the rest are mid cards and under. Guys that you don't see any other time. You don't see them on TV. You got 3 hours worth of Monday Night Raw, and you mean to tell me there's no time to fit in some guys? It'll probably be the same tonight. It'll be the Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, which I don't mind. I like watching these guys because they're newer and they're fresher, they're younger. But like Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins is being shoved down our throats. It's not so much him being on Raw every week, it's the amount of time he's on Raw. He has a lot of TV exposure. And like Daniel Bryan, I mean, for a lot of fans, we're all fans of Daniel Bryan, don't get me wrong. But there were nights when Daniel Bryan was in gauntlet matches. He was on half a Raw, where he has 3 or 4 segments. It was sort of like when CM Punk was around, but at least CM Punk was so creative in his verbal exchange. He did great pipe bombs. CM Punk did great with everything that he did. I just think the WWE needs to look ahead and not behind. They're in a situation where I don't think they really know what to do. How long are these guys going to stay down in NXT? Bring them up. Let them show what they can do. That's how these guys become stars, by getting TV exposure. They're not going to become big stars on the WWE network on Thursday nights. The only way they're going to become real big stars is when they get it back on TV, on the main stage of live WWE, which is obviously Monday Night Raw. Those are my thoughts. Those are my opinions. Steve Austin talked about WWE being a 3-ring circus. Well, you got Adam Rose and the Rosebuds, Santino Marella coming back, Hornswoggle as an alligator. You got the rabbit. Why not call it a circus? Would it be wise to bring back the Attitude Era? Can they bring back the Attitude Era? They can do a little more on TV than what they do. It doesn't have to be strictly PG. They had the sponsors back in the days of the Attitude Era, and they'd have them today. What's next for the WWE? Oh, giving away the network free for a month. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But I think the path to get away from desperation needs to be walked in the right direction. One has to wonder. One will just wait and see. Brock Lesnar is going to be on December 8th Monday Night Raw, the go home show for TLC. Supposedly he's going to face John Cena. Will he? If Lesnar and Cena had a match on Monday Night Raw, it would be a big pop. Something the WWE used to do years ago, had these big matches on Monday Night Raw. They save them for pay-per-views. But then when you look at all the pay-per-view matches in the last year or so, most of the matches on pay-per-views could have been matches on Monday Night Raw. Because in my opinion, pay-per-view matches and Monday Night Raw matches aren't much different. So anyway, I'm not knocking the WWE. I'm just giving my opinion. I just think they can do much better. This is the Iceman. Subscribe.